Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Fractional Typology Project. Today we're going to be talking about Ladybug from Bullet Train. We're going to be talking about his tri-type. Beware, there are spoilers ahead. So first, his votes. So these are Ladybug's tri-type votes. They are pretty decisively 9-7. Um, you know, Consensus in tri-type is rare, which is a thing we're going to talk about. But these votes are pretty decisively, uh, 9 core, then 7 leaning. And I think I talked about this in the introduction to the FTP video. And by the way, if any of these terms are not familiar, as I always say, go back to the introduction to the FTP video. I talk about tri-type in that video. I talk about tri-type a lot more in depth in that video than I honestly think maybe I should have. Um, we'll get into that in a second because it's not that deep. Tri-type is not that deep in my well, not to say that tri-type isn't, but tri-type is it's more of a flavoring in my opinion than a more distinctive and defined typing system. But we'll get into that. So first of all, well, I, okay. Let's hold on for a second. Let's go back to this. So, first things first. The first position in the tri-type, which is the first number to the left, is the core type. We've already discussed how Ladybug is a 9. So that's not a surprise. So then we have to consider what is the number in the middle. What's the second position number? Or in other words, the fix. Tri-type is all about what your fix is. So here, we're doing a cross comparison. So there's 6 different things it could be. It's either 2, 3, or 4, aka 1 in the heart triad, or 5, 6, or 7 in the head triad. So, evaluating this, does Ladybug have any kind of fixation with shame? In my opinion, no, not at all. Shame is never a thing that Ladybug brings up. It's never a thing that is sort of core to his identity in the movie. It's an entirely unrelated thing. Versus the head triad is not centered around shame, but centered around fear. And yes, Ladybug has an active problem with fear. So I absolutely think that Ladybug has a head fix over a heart fix, and the community by and large agrees. Now, it's not going to be a 5 fix because 5s have a tendency to withdraw and to study and to put things together. I'll make a partial argument for the elder as having a 5 fix. And part of the reason is after the burn down of the Minagishi Empire, after the White Death took over, the Elder isolated for years, trying to come up with some kind of way to get back at the White Death. That kind of detachment, reclusion, and studying is indicative of a 5's kind of reclusive behavior. Ladybug doesn't do that. Not at all. Now we have to talk about the 7 fix. Superficially speaking, he's funny, he's charismatic, he has surface level traits that would be reminiscent of a 7, which in my opinion is why he's largely voted ENXP and why 7 is a large alternative in the votes. But that is not indicative of him as a character, in my opinion. Not at all. Because he he doesn't seek out experiences for fun or for enjoyment's sake. Like, there's no evidence of him pleasure seeking in the movie. Most of what he does is self soothing or relaxation. You know, he does breathing techniques, he grabs comfort food with the peas, um, he wants to get to a Zen garden. Like, these things are fundamentally security seeking, not excitement and enjoyment and novelty. Unfortunately, there's no uh, Seven-esque character to easily compare him to in the movie. Um, but his security seeking behavior and broader anxiety are a dead ringer for a six fix. So, in my opinion, um, if we were to get a fix for him, that would be it. Now, now that we've determined, six is the most likely of the fixes. Um, in my opinion, he shows no signs of the kind of ambition or tragic longing that would be three or four, and instead mostly attempts to be kind to other people, which I think 962 then is the best fit for their tri-type. Now, in terms of the votes here, um, oh, sorry. So, this is where I talk in a broader sense about the difficulty with tri-type. So, first of all, rarely a vote consensus when it comes to tri-type. Actually, this is one of the few exceptions where these votes have come together and paint a bigger picture. Um, the bigger problem is that there are no good definitions for how a tri-type is and how they should behave. I'm very dependent on the descriptions written by Carcino on Personality Cafe for how each tri-type behaves, where they took a core type and a fix, combined them together, and then said, here's the description. And I think these are useful. They're useful as a ballpark range. And not only am I dependent on them, they are also the reference that's used on the Personality Database Wiki for describing how these tri-types work. They're not official though. Like, they're not a thing that anyone is really signed off on. And Catherine Fauvre, instead of dealing with all 162 order specific positions in general, has made videos about the 27 tri-types in general. So, like, instead of something about 514, it's like 145, or maybe 451, but like all of those combinations: 514, 541, 145, 154, 415, 451. All of those are combined together into a single video when all of them would have very different presentations based off of what was their core, what was their fix, and what was in their third position. And this is a problem because it makes tri-type very vibe based. Not only, instead of having a distinct definition of what things are like in the second position versus what they're like in the third position, you're only given the benchmark of, what types generally go here, what feels right for what second. And that presents a problem when you're trying to be precise about the use of language. So it's tri-type in this sense functions more as a flavoring for the Enneagram than an independent system as is. And I think it should be used with that in mind. I think it still has something interesting to say, but it's not as concrete and not as nuanced as the other systems. So, as far as Ladybug's relationship with Maria. Maria is a core 6, in my opinion, and seeks after um, having things put together. And so uh, I think she can relate to and understand Ladybug's need for comfort and um, obviously suppresses herself emotionally with um, her third emotion and attitudinal psyche, but she still values and she values Ladybug's 6 fix when it doesn't interfere with the mission. Um, yeah. And then Lemon can also relate to his broader leanings, having the same fix and third position in his tri-type. But the situation made that far too difficult for Lemon to lean into. Tangerine can relate to an extent, but mostly finds Ladybug annoying, and his own piece would be, killing Ladybug. So it's not, it doesn't build camaraderie between them. The prince doesn't really understand Ladybug, in my opinion, and uses the same tactics she does with everyone. And I think she would have behaved differently if she understood his 6 fix better. The elder reads Ladybug and reads his good intentions. And I think he also has similar motivations, so they get along well. And the White Death literally could not care less about Ladybug and Ladybug's orientation for security. And lastly, these are examples of other 9-6X characters, at least according to the personality database and their votes. I think all 3 of them are a different example of the way that 9-6X could manifest. And so you need to take that with a grain of salt. To the degree that 6 can be anxiety and to the degree that 6 can be security seeking, all 3 of them, I think, practice that in a different way. Enough that they can be definitively voted as having a 6 fix, with there already being a consensus for them as a 9, but also in a different way that matches each character. And this kind of blurry nature through which tri-type is applied is indicative of its ambiguity as a typing system, which is why it's a good flavoring while not being definitive. And that's it. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.